I'm an only child, so I know a child going through a cancer diagnosis with their parent can be hard in general, but I truly felt alone. I mean, coming from a small town, like none of my friends' parents had cancer. Like I didn't know anyone that had cancer. I know we like always say like, oh, like it's the Inheritance of Hope family, but like for me, I truly feel like it is an extended family for me of like when, like, I go on retreats and I serve, it's like the first day, you're just greeted with so many hugs and hellos, and I think people truly care about each other. It's such, like, an inspirational organization no matter what side you're coming from. Like, I can't think of a more fulfilling experience that I've had in my life. I feel like I bring up Inheritance of Hope with anyone and everyone, and I just think, like, everyone should know about it, whether you're looking at volunteering, you're a family interested in going. It's a very I'm not gonna say it's an easy experience, like, it's very difficult, like, I think being vulnerable is one of the hardest things you can do in life, but I think, like, once you take that step to volunteer or to be a family, like, going on the retreat, that it's gonna be the most amazing experience you've ever had.
Welcome to the Inheritance of Hope podcast. Every day, 562 children lose a parent to terminal illness. They shouldn't have to face that alone. You can pretend to avoid the painful realities of illness, grief, and death, or you can deal with the real stuff in caring community. On the podcast, people in Inheritance of Hope's community share raw, personal stories of pain, trials, and the shadow of death, which are also stories of joy in terminal illness. Find more Inheritance of Hope community at inheritanceofhope.org. Hey all, welcome to another episode of the Inheritance of Hope podcast. This is Ellie and I am joined with Mackensi today, and we are going to just kind of dive into some really incredible stories from Inheritance of Hope and just all that entails in Mackensi's life. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Mackensi Schneider. I am currently a senior at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. And then after graduating in May, I will be moving to Bloomington, Indiana, to work in a research and development lab at a pharmaceutical company.
That's so exciting. Yeah, right before we hit record, we were kind of talking about going to college in rural Indiana, because I also went to college in rural Indiana, and it doesn't sound like it's too far from each other, but it's quite the experience. It's not big city living by any means, but you said Bloomington?
Yes, I'm really excited because that'll be my first like big city living experience. And like I am looking at like buying a house on like the little like outsides of town, which is also really exciting. But I'm excited for the different experience of like having so many things to do, like so close to me and like lots of activities and things.
Yeah, because were you born and raised in rural Indiana as well?
I was, yes.
Kind of moving up in the world a little bit.
Step by step, they're just getting a little bigger each time.
Yes. Yeah. Man, yeah, loved my time in Indiana. I feel like it's just kind of nice, small town, like family values. I don't know. It's definitely, there's something to be said for it. And there's a reason why people live there. I know people are probably like, oh, it's just a bunch of corn or whatever, but it's a good place to live.
I agree. It's like people like it's where everyone knows everyone or like you
Mhm.
know someone that knows someone, which I think is so fun.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it is a special place. So I'm really excited for you to um, graduate and move on to that. You said, are you graduating this year? You said.
In May. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that you are on the podcast today. We can kind of unpack what your journey has looked like a little bit, which I always love starting with the question, how did you hear about Inheritance of Hope? Because I don't know how you heard about it, and I know you're heavily involved. So walk us through it.
So, my dad had cancer in 2014, and we got to go on the retreat. And just like before the retreat, or kind of a background, I'm an only child. So, I know like a child going through a cancer diagnosis with their parent can be hard in general, but I truly felt alone. I mean, coming from a small town, none of my friends' parents had cancer. Like, I didn't know anyone that had cancer. And so, I ended up finding out, like, one of the teachers at my elementary school, like, she had cancer and, like, she, like, got through her diagnosis, was living cancer free. And so, like, before Inheritance of Hope, she was kind of like my outlet. And I think it's really important for people to have that. And I'm really glad that, like, we have Inheritance of Hope and I was able to find that. And I just remember, like, going on our vault, like, on our retreat, one of the, like, volunteers, JC Lawler, she, like, was like hanging out with me and like she was playing games with me and like she gave me stickers to like decorate my name tag. And I just remember like the first day, like, oh my gosh, like she's the most amazing person in the world. Like we're gonna be best friends. And like at the welcome dinner that we had, my dad was like, we didn't know like she was our volunteer. And he was like, don't get your hopes up. Like, I don't want you to get too attached. Like, there's other people, like other families here too. Like, there's like volunteers need to be like distributed. And I'm like, no, but like I love her. Like she needs to be our volunteer. And like she ended up being like our family volunteer. And like I feel like she just made the weekend for our family of like no one had to stress about like park tickets or anything. And like it was such an easy weekend and experience. And like I truly think that was like because of her and like because of the volunteer. And I just left the retreat of like, I cannot wait to turn 16. So like I can be a family volunteer. Like I want to do that. Like I wanted to be JC. And I just feel like ever since that day, I was like, I just can't wait to be 16. And I had turned 16, like I had signed up for my first retreat. And then like that was right when COVID hit. And so, like, the retreat had got canceled and, like, I ended up doing online retreats, which was really good, and, like, I feel like it gave me a good kind of entryway into the retreats of, like, having the experience and, like, kinda knowing what happens, but I was, like when I got to go on my first in-person retreat, I was just so excited.
And when was that you actually got to go?
It was, like, spring of 2022, so it was a little I wanna say 2 years later.
But that would be so sad to be so excited, finally get to that day, and then, everything had to be shut down and
Yes.
moved online. Not the same, but I'm glad you finally got to go. And since that first one, how many retreats have you been on since?
I try to do 2 a year, so I wanna say I've done 6 in person, maybe? I think 6, yeah. Mhm.
It's incredible.
I've only done the Orlando and the St. Louis one so far, but I signed up to go to the Houston retreat in spring of 2026. I'm excited to, like, unlock a new location.
Yes. Sounds like a video game the way you just described it. Oh, man. So, you're doing the Texas one next year. Are you signed up for any others?
That's the only one I'm signed up so far. Definitely, like, starting a new job, I don't really know what my schedule is gonna look like, but I wanna keep doing 2 a year. I think it's a really good it's manageable for me in my schedule so far, and I feel like it's really intentional, and I feel like I have such an amazing, like, time, and, like, it just reminds me of so many, like, happy memories that I wanna keep doing them.
Yeah, man, I feel like I have a lot of questions I want to ask you, but I guess one that I would love to hear is so obviously the volunteer who was assigned to your family on that retreat was super impactful. What other elements of the retreat really made you love Inheritance of Hope and want to come back and serve other families on the retreats?
I think it was just such a happy, like, experience for me and, like, to have, like, people capturing, like, pictures of, like, my entire family and, like, making those, like, memories and all of those things, and I connected with a girl, her name is Paris. Her mom had cancer and passed away, like, shortly after our retreat, but, like, we still keep in touch, like, occasionally, like, on social medias, and so I think it's really influential and, like, it is truly, like, a lifelong experience, and I know we, like, always say, like, "Oh, like, it's the Inheritance of Hope family," but, like, for me, I truly feel like it is, like, an extended family for me of, like,
Oh.
when, like, I go on retreats and I serve, it's, like, the first day, it's, like, you're just greeted, like, with so many hugs and, like, hellos, and I think people truly care about each other, which is kind of, like, hard to find now,
Mhm.
especially, like, in person, and so having that big of a network and people that truly, like, care and value for you, I think is really treasurable.
Yeah, I've heard it described as it feels like you're at a family reunion
Mhm.
and you're literally just meeting these people, but that's how close you feel so quickly. And I mean, it's a long weekend, but it's
Mhm.
not like you're, with these people for 2 weeks and it's the connections are formed so quickly.
And I almost kind of think it's just made so perfectly of, like, you meet this family, and you kind of know their story. Like, you know their story from, like, the navigator side and, like, what they've tell you, but, like, you meet the family and it's like, "I want you to tell me, like, whatever you feel comfortable sharing," and just how easy the families are to share, like, their life story, like, the way the parents met, like, their love story, like, about their children and, like, just about their health journey so, like, right off the bat, I think is so vulnerable, and it's so special. Like, I would never imagine, like, meeting someone for the first time and them just being, like, willing and able to just, like, lay everything out on the table and, like, connect with me. So I think it's really special that Inheritance of Hope is able to kinda capture that.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and I think it's so special and incredible how, you have this experience of having a parent with a diagnosis and feeling so alone and isolated. Like literally like an only child in a small town. None of your friends had this happening in their world. And so for now, you to go and find that with other people and then also continuing to foster that so other people feel less alone, like that is such a beautiful gift. I love that you're so passionate about it too, because it's so needed.
I think it's really special, like, how many families served come back to serve. So, my mom, like, actually volunteered on her first retreat this summer, and I think my parents were letting, like, the volunteering be, like, my thing for a while, and I, like, finally realized, I was like, "You can, like" my mom loves volunteer work. Like, I feel like she's, like, where I got it from. I was like, "You can, like, volunteer on a retreat with me." She's like, "Okay, like, I'll sign me up." I'm like, "I did," and, like, I told her, like, when the availability came out and I was like, "Oh, like, I'm signing up for, like, this Texas retreat, like, it's these dates." She's like, "Oh, you can sign me up too." And I was like, "Perfect." Like, I think it's so special to, like, make those connections and, like, I feel like the families are almost more, like, willing to open up, like, when you share things about yourself like, when I share, like, "Oh, like, this is where I was connected, and, like, my dad also had cancer." Like, the families are like, "Oh, like, I can talk to you about these things," and, like,
Mhm.
I think for my first, like, in-person retreat, it truly made all of the difference of, I served a family and they had 3 teenage daughters, and, like, at this point, I was a senior in high school, like, I was only, like, 1 to 3 years older than their daughters, and
Mhm.
knowing that before the retreat, I was like, "Oh my goodness, like, this is kinda scary," like, I feel like teenagers can be all over the place, like, I've been one, and so going into it, I was like, "I have no clue if they're gonna like me," like, I feel like I don't wanna, like, make them mad, I don't wanna be too pushy, but, like, we had the most amazing connection, like, from the snap of fingers, like, it was so purposeful and it was such a wonderful experience, like, I had such high expectations, like, I'd been waiting for that retreat for so long, and I feel like they just made it, like, all of that and so much more for me, so it kinda, like, sparked my fire of, like, this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah. Right, and it just is this immediate trust building thing to come to an experience like that and say, "Oh yeah, me too. Like my dad has cancer," or like I have been where you are, even if we're like the same age or I'm barely older than you. Like I'm not coming at this as this complete expert about anything, but it's like I resonate with you. Here's my story, and that alone just builds trust and like vulnerability breeds vulnerability. And so, yeah, I love, love, love how
connected you can get so quickly with other people, especially because of the background you experienced of feeling so isolated. So now getting to experience that in a multitude of ways throughout all of the years you've been serving is just so special.
I really love it.
Yeah. Have you been involved with any other Inheritance of Hope programming at all?
I did a lot of the online retreats, and then I would lead the kids groups on the Hope at Home for a while. But then like with college, like things got really hard to do the online. So I really like try to stay intentional of like getting like to go to in-person retreats and like prioritize like making time for them.
Yeah. How was it leading the kids group? Because I know, kids
Mhm.
online, like over Zoom can be a little distracted or whatever, but like describe what that space is for someone who doesn't know about our Kids Hope at Home groups.
I think it's so like, if I could use one worm, I would say, like, warm. Of It's so fun if you have, like, kids, like, 7 to 12, like, in a room, like, on their electronic device, like, it's just you don't know what's gonna happen, to be quite honest. But the volunteers are so like, they are meant to be there, and they are, like, the perfect people for that role of just being so warm and, like, trying to manage everything and, like, making sure everyone, like, has a turn to speak and kind of, like, share, but, like, not forcing anyone to share also just I like to think encouraging, but there's definitely fun times of, like, coloring eggs and, like, on a Zoom call. One of the Hope at Home retreats, there was a chicken, on the computer screen, and I was like, "This is so, like, amazing." And I think the fact that, like, you can just connect with people, like, so intentionally, so often is really, really beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, and if anyone's listening and doesn't know what our Hope at Home groups are, they are weekly online support groups that meet over Zoom, and it's super accessible. We have people joining from home, from a hospital bed, on the go, like, it's very accessible, and that's the really cool thing is that we have groups for every single person, as Mackenzie is sharing, like, the diagnosed parent, the spouse and caregiver, the kids, the teens, like, there's a group for every person, and you get a space to talk with other people who get it and know exactly what you're going through, so I love that you've experienced kind of the in-person programming, the online stuff, and, you know yourself enough to realize, like, okay, the in-person stuff is maybe more your speed and what you have capacity for at the moment, but, the fact that you have experienced both and just given of yourself and have those stories is so sweet.
Facing terminal illness is difficult enough, but you don't have to go through it alone. Whether you're at home, in a hospital bed, or on the road, join us. We are a community of people that get it. Find the connection, support, and hope you deserve. Because when you don't know where to turn, you can always find hope at home. So don't waste another second. Sign up today. Hope is waiting for you at inheritanceofhope.org.
So with, your own personal story, apart from like volunteering, obviously having a parent diagnosed with a terminal diagnosis is a trial. Definitely. Like, and we talk about a lot, like in the midst of trials, it's still possible to feel like God's favorite child. Have you ever read Consider It Pure Joy?
Yes.
Yeah. That is the book that the co-founder of Inheritance of Hope wrote. And as she was going through her own terminal diagnosis, going through treatments, having 3 kids that she knew she was going to be leaving behind, she was like convinced that through the fire that she was God's favorite child just because of how special she felt and how loved and taken care of she felt by the Lord. So, I guess, like, in the midst of your own trials, what were glimpses of being loved as God's favorite child in your own story?
Think for me, it was just how many people, like, got put in our lives and, like, how, like, I didn't know their purposes before then, but just, like, how many people stepped up for us of, like I feel like I don't have a very big, like, immediate family, and, like, a lot of our, like, closer family members, like, lived further away, and so I feel like I have, like, an adopted family of so many people, like, neighbors that would like pick me up from school or like let me sleep over at their house, like when my dad was downtown getting cancer treatment, like people that would like drive me to like the cancer center and so I could be with him, or even like at the cancer center, like he went and got all of his treatments in Indy. There were so many like activities. So like I feel like he got most of his treatments like in the winter. And so like we would get canceled from school because the snow was really bad and I would go with him. And like they had like craft carts. And so like these craft carts would come, and like my dad's not a very crafty guy, but like I would sit there like doing crafts and like I was like the happiest person ever. Like just being able to spend time with him and like have something to occupy my time and not be super worrying, because like I was really young at the time, like fourth and fifth grade, but it was just such a special like moment, and how many people like were intentionally placed in my life like just to make the like things go better, like the time go better and like things like that.
I love that because what you just described, it's not the absence of trials or difficulties, but it's the presence of beauty in the midst of them. Like you're at this cancer center for your dad's treatments, and in the midst of that, you get to color with your dad or
Mhm.
you get these craft cards, and just getting to see the blessings in the midst of the suffering and in the trials it's a definitely a hard thing to notice, but it is a skill you almost have to develop of like, this is so hard. And I'm looking for these things so that I can find the beauty in the trials. And we call it Jaro. Have you heard of
Mhm.
us talking about Jaro? Yeah. Joy in sorrow. It is possible. And I feel like, yeah, do you have any other stories that come to mind
I
for
think
Jaro?
one is my like dream job is like, yes, I'm going to work in like research and development for cancer pharmaceuticals, but like my dream job is to do cancer like treatment research. My dad he's cancer free right now, which I'm so grateful for. But seeing how all of the side effects have really taken a toll on him of like osteoporosis and like bone degeneration, or like he lost all of his teeth and like had to get a full set of dentures like before he was 50. And so I think like cancer treatment is so hard on people's bodies just because of how rigorous it has to be. But I'm really interested in like all of the side effects for it and making like a less invasive kind of treatment. And I'm a biology major. And so for my thesis project for my undergrad, like I'm studying cisplatin and like the neurotoxicity from it. And so I think for me, like, yes, this cancer treatment was so hard, but like it was such a blessing to like be connected to Inheritance of Hope, and like it inspired me like for my career path and like my future goals. And so I think it's such a joy for my life because I love like researching and like I love learning all of these things like with hope that like there could be a difference in the future.
That is so beautiful. And yeah, you've been shaped by this hard thing. And I actually need to look this up. Yeah, the verse, what the enemy intended for evil, God meant for good. And that just feels like it captures your story of there's this bad thing like cancer. I think nobody would say like cancer is this amazing, wonderful thing that happened, but it's like, actually, there's been some amazing, incredible things that happened in my life, like through cancer. Not to give it credit because it is a terrible thing, and I don't want to make this feel like it's lighter than it actually is. But I feel like you're such a living testimony of what was intended for evil has actually been transformed and used for good.
Mhm.
So good. Yeah, I guess I don't want it just to be, like, insensitive to the fact that there were hard moments. So, like, I wanna give you the microphone, like, what were some moments of darkness or heaviness that you experienced along the way?
Think for me it was just the real like feeling of aloneness of I didn't really have anyone who I felt like I could talk to. And I think one thing that I felt, and I know a lot of other people feel it as well, just like through what I volunteered with, is like people feel like they can't speak to their parents about their feelings because like they're already going through so much. Like one of your parents is diagnosed with cancer or ALS or this really like life disease, and like your other parent like is working and like taking care of them and like kind of filling all of the roles. And so I felt like I couldn't like put that added pressure on of like, I feel this way or like this really upsets me or like asking questions or things like that. And so I think for me, it was just the kind of feeling of like I'm by myself, like I need to like take care of my feelings on my own and like I need to process this on my own, which really just isn't the case. And like I wish I would have known that sooner. Like I could talk about my feelings. And like I think if I expressed my feelings about how I felt, like my parents would have expressed, like we feel that too, like and talking about it more.
Yeah, that's so insightful because I think that there are going to be parents listening who are either the caregiver or the diagnosed parent who are like, I want my kids to talk to me. And I also know that it's going to be hard for them to approach because they don't want to add to my burden. So I guess if there's a parent listening, like from your experience, what pieces of advice would you give those parents? Like, what would make it easier for their kids to approach them with the burdens and with the emotions that they're carrying?
I think if like they're at an appropriate age, like share things with them. Like the health process and the health journey doesn't have to be sugar coated always. I think a lot of the kids and the teenagers can handle and like they want to know things of like they want to know the process and like what the treatments are looking like and things like that. And like it's gonna be upsetting. It's a very like upsetting. It's a very sad process. I think sometimes knowing exactly what's happening kind of relieves like the stress and anxiety of like wondering. And so you can be sad with the process and not have like the anxiety building up of like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going to happen next and things like that. But I think just like asking them, like making sure that they know you're a resource and like feel like sometimes I get overwhelming with people and I'm like, I'm here for you. Like, please, like, let me know if you need to talk. But sometimes people need to hear it a lot of times, like, before they actually believe you. And so I'm definitely a person to kind of say it a lot of times. And like, maybe like the seventh time they'll answer me and like they'll talk. But like, even if they don't, that's okay. I just think making sure like their presence is known is really important.
Yeah. And as you were talking, I was reminded of a story. So I'm a certified child life specialist, and child life specialists do a lot of like education and preparation in developmentally appropriate ways. That's a huge core piece of the job. And I remember during my internship when I was like definitely new and not great at the job yet because it was all training. Like I would be on my own for some parts of it. And I would go into rooms and I would ask the kids, like, do you have any questions? You're about to get this surgery or like you just got this diagnosis. And of course, their answer was like, no. And I'm like, okay, like, I guess I'll leave. I don't know what to do with that. And then I was shadowing someone and they knew from all the years of work that, like, if you ask someone, hey, do you have any questions? It's so hard because it's like, of course you do, but you might not even know what your questions are. So I remember this child life specialist went into the room and she was like, of course, asked, gave the space, like, do you have any questions? They said no. And she was like, okay, I know you don't have any questions, but is it okay if I just share with you some information that like another kid your age last week asked me about this? And then like through that, she was like, so this is what the procedure is going to be like. Here's the information. And it made the kid not feel dumb. Like, you don't know these things because it normalized it. Like, yeah, someone your age literally just asked me this. This is what they were curious about. And I loved that approach. And I feel like that might be a good tip for parents to take away too is like, maybe your kids like want to talk to you, but they just don't know what they have to like navigate or they don't know what questions to ask. So just even like leading with some information and like explaining what is going on in developmentally appropriate ways invites questions. Yeah, because the blank statement of like, well, let me know if you want to talk is like good. And yeah, like you said, you need to be really repetitive with that or you need to lead with information because that's probably not going to be enough for someone to feel like, okay, now I have this question formulated. Like you might need to give them a little help.
I also think that cancer diagnosis is so like new for so many people, like even the parents, like the caregiver or the diagnosed parent of like, I'm sure they're not knowing things. I'm sure they're asking questions, like looking things up. And so I think even like kind of what you're saying, like starting with that of like the parent saying, I asked this question, like I wanted to know this because it is probably very similar to like what the children or like the teenagers are wanting to know as well. A really good point.
I love that. Yeah, and that just invites them into your world as a parent. Like, I have questions about this. I'm scared. Like, if you can lead by owning your own questions and your own emotions, that makes it such a valuable space for your child to then enter in and be like, "Oh, you're scared? Like, I'm scared too, but I didn't want to bring it up." And like, yeah, so I think that really, you normalizing it is going to be a game changer for your kids.
Great.
Yeah, and actually in the App Store, you can download it's called Simply Sayin Medical Jargon, and it's developed by the Child Life team at Phoenix Children's Hospital. And that is a great app. I'll link it in the show notes. It has a glossary, it has prep books, it has drawings and pictures. So let's say you have to get an MRI. Like, will a 4-year-old know what MRI is? No. But they have like, oh, here's a picture of what that machine looks like. Here's maybe what it sounds like. And it has developmentally appropriate ways to describe things as well. So simply saying, it has like the G dropped from the end, medical jargon. So I really recommend that if you need a starting point and it has questions that like people might have in there. So that was a tangent, but I feel like that was really productive. I thank you for sharing all that.
One more thing to add is I really appreciated like being able to go with my dad to appointments. Like being able to kind of see, like sit in the waiting room, like observe. I think I was at that age where like I needed to see things to like understand things or to believe things. And so like being able to like sit with him in treatments or go to doctor's appointments and see exactly what was happening, I think was really like key to my understanding and like my processing.
Yes. And if you give kids jobs to do, that gives them a sense of ownership. So, like, even if you have like little kids and they join you, if you like assign them tasks of like, okay, your job is to hit all of the elevator buttons and you need to make sure we go to the right floor. So when we go, your job is to press like the up button and then 6 because we need to go to the 6th floor. Like something as simple as pressing buttons, like if they know it's a task that's solely assigned to them and that they can own, like that helps offset a lot of fear and anxiety of being in like a hospital context. So if you give them jobs or like, your job is to draw me a picture while we're here. And like, I love sunflowers. Your job is to draw me the prettiest picture of a sunflower that you can, or something like that. Involve them, give them tasks, and like let them see what's going on. That's so important. Yeah, so good. Any other like words of wisdom or tips that you would share?
Think as like someone who like my dad doesn't have cancer anymore, just like showing up for people. I think a really good like point of this is people always ask like, let me know like if I can bring you anything or like let me know if you need anything, which is a really good question, a really good offer, but people always don't know what they need. So like something that I like try and change myself of like instead of the like let me know if you need anything, it's like when can I bring you like this? Like, when can I bring you a coffee or when can I like come chat? When can I bring you dinner is something I think that it kind of takes the pressure off of them. It's like instead of like, oh, let me know if you need anything, it can be a lot to ask for dinner. Like, it can be a lot to ask for those things. But if you're offering specific things of like dinner or cleaning a house, like if you're offering a task or an item specifically, I think it's a lot less pressure from the parent of having to say, like, this is what I actually need.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. And yeah, that's even, I've heard that a lot as I've been doing this podcast. And I feel like I've even changed the way that I do it just because I've heard it so frequently, because it takes the emotional burden off or like the mental energy off of the person if you can just say like, hey, I'm going to do this. And even like last week I was sick, and you can probably still hear it in my voice. I'm still like recovering, but I was super sick and I was like kind of useless. I wasn't able to get up and do much. And a friend texted and she was like, I made soup. Can I drop it off for dinner tonight? And like just a porch drop off, like it didn't require anything. And it was so hard for me to say yes. I was even thinking like, I should say no and just make my own soup. And I'm like, I can't get off the couch. I'm like, I'm too sick. So it was interesting because she phrased it like that, it was hard, but I could accept it. It was much easier. But if she would say like, "Hey, you're sick. Can I do anything?" I would have been like, "No, I'm fine." Like I would have been like self-preservation or just like proud or something. So, yes, definitely like change the way you're offering things because if you just say like, "Let me know what I can do," that's not really actually helpful. Yeah, so good. Man, I feel like we need to have you on like as a rotating guest just to like bring on more insight. So good. I do want to spend some time talking about your volunteer experiences. Like, I want to hear stories that have stuck with you. Like, once you have left a retreat, like what are some stories that still come to mind frequently?
One that is so, like, often in my mind is it was a family I served, I wanna say March of 2023, and it was a big family. I was with a few, like, young teen girls, like, ages, like, 12 to, like, 15, and I think with teenagers, it's really hard to connect of, like, they don't really tell you if they like you or not. Like, a little kid's like, "Oh my gosh, like, we're best buddies, like, come, like, do this with me," and, like, teenagers, like, you kinda have to, like, nudge them a little to, like, get them to talk to you, and, like, a lot of times you're talking, like, to them and, like, they're not always answering you or, like, not always super responsive in group, which, like, I get. It's a really hard conversation, like, it brings up so many emotions, so, like, no fault to them on any means, but just, like, as a volunteer, like, myself, sometimes I feel like I leave a retreat and I'm like, I don't really know if I made a difference, of, like, I don't know if I connected with these teens, like, I don't know if, like, they actually view me as, like, a resource or, like, a support system or, like, if they truly know, like, they can come talk to me, like, with anything, and so that was really hard just because I'd never experienced that before in a retreat, and then it was May of that year, I got a text from one of the daughters, and it just read, like, "Mackenzie, my mom died this morning." And that was so, like, hard to kinda process of, like, I had no clue if I made a difference, like, in, like, any of these children, and then, like, to get a text and, like, being so vulnerable of, like, "This happened today, like, my mom died," not knowing what to do at all, and, like, the dad had given me a call later that day, and that was, again, another thing of, like, this dad was calling, like, a teenage girl to, tell her, like, his wife passed away and, like, all of his kids, like, don't have a mother, and so I feel like I replay that day so often, just, like, reminding me, like, even if you don't, like, know you're making a difference then, like, you can still be making a difference, and I think, like, just, like, I haven't lost a parent, but, like, walking, like, with them and, like, trying to help them through that was so difficult that, like, I can't imagine, like, how they felt. Like, if I feel so upset, like, speaking about it and thinking about it, like, how did they feel?
Mm, wow. That just feels so sacred that she reached out to you. It sounds like within a few hours
Mhm.
almost. Like just knowing that whether or not you felt like it was this like, oh wow, we connected so well, or it just was kind of ambiguous, like, but the fact that she knew that you were safe to come to and share such heavy, immediate news it's so difficult, like, wow, that's talk about, like, wanting to handle that well and comfort them and show up appropriately, like, yeah, man, talk about the fact that you were trusted enough with that information.
Think it kind of gave me a little bit more confidence as a volunteer of, like, I can do these things and, like, I'm not there for my own reward. Like, I'm not there to, like, know, like, me and this, like, new, like, little kid or, like, me and this teenager, like, we're friends now. Like, we have a support system. Like, I feel like I'm there to give it my all and, like, to make it as known as possible that, like, I can be there for you during hard times. And so I think that was a big eye opener for me of like, I'm not there for my own good. Like, yes, this is so fun. Like, I have such a good time of like, it can be hard and like, it can still be beneficial. And like, at the end of the day, like, it's supposed to be beneficial for like the families being served. And if it's beneficial for me, that's great. But like, if I have a hard time and like, I don't know if I connected with them, like, as long as I did my best and like, I make it known to the family and the kids that I can be there for them, like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think that's a really, like, it's a really hard part of serving, especially with the teenagers or the young adults of like this past year I led the teen and young adult group like for my like the facilitated for the first time by myself and I like after the first session I remember texting like one of the other like volunteers like that had facilitated groups and I was like I need so much help like I like they didn't speak like they were so quiet like I have no clue what I'm doing and she's like just give it time like it's okay like it'll work out and, like, at the end, like, we were doing, like, the egg throwing of, like, they throw an egg on, like, this, like maybe it was I wanna say we did water balloons this time, but it was, like, water balloons on a table, and they were like, "Oh, like, we should do it together." And it's, like, all of the teens and, like, young adults, like, ages, like, 12 to 21, like, we're throwing water balloons, like, at the same time, which may seem, like, really small, but, like, sometimes you have to wait it out for, like, the connections to be made, and it's such it's an experience that isn't gonna be the same every time. Like, one group or one family isn't gonna have the same experience with you as a completely different family or completely different group. And so I think for me, that was really eye-opening of, like, you have to take your time, you have to be patient, and, like, wait it out because at the end of the day, like, things will work out at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so hard to adjust your expectations because you want to go on a retreat and, like, have this amazing connection that's, like, visible to everyone around and, like, "Look how amazing this family and I are getting along," or whatever. But if that's the metric for your success, like, that's not actually where it needs to be. You kinda need to adjust that, and maybe the metric for success is that everyone in this group wants to throw a water balloon at the same
Mhm.
time. Like, it's unassuming, but it's those small moments of connection and building trust and people feeling safe with one another, whether or not it's super obvious or maybe takes months to actually, like, show itself, but it's meaningful nonetheless, and it's worthwhile, and yeah, and it's hard because we want that instant gratification of like, "Wow, yay," but that's not actually how it works all the time, and I feel like the stories you shared were, like, a very great example of that. Well, I've loved all your stories so far and would love to wrap up with this last question that I always ask every guest as we end, and it's, whose legacy has been impactful for you, whether it's their life or death or just how they've lived that has been really it's shaped how you live your life.
Like, the first one that comes to mind every time is Anna Conti. Anna was a volunteer on the retreat that I got served on. And, like, seeing her there and then, like, connecting with her on all of, like, the online retreats and the Hope at Home and everything, and then, like, now serving in person with her, I feel like she is, like, the big sister I didn't get to have and, like, the biggest role model in my life of just, like, seeing how she handles everything with, like, such grace and, like, confidence is really inspiring to me, and, like, she inspires me to, like, live my life better and to, like, be a better person, and just, like, seeing her impact on Inheritance of Hope, and, like, I feel like if I can serve families, like, just a fraction of, like, how she serves them, like, I know I'm making an impact in their life, and so I think her as a whole, like, she is just such an impactful person to me, and, like, she really changes, like, who I am.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for her to listen to this. That's gonna be so special for her to hear, and so, so true. Like, she kinda gives it her all. She's on staff with Inheritance of Hope and volunteers at most retreats. I feel like I'm always seeing her at a retreat. Yeah, and I feel like the way that she has been that person for you, I'm sure you're that way for other people too. Like that first volunteer who was your family volunteer on the retreat you were served at was just like immediately someone you like just noticed and like wanted to be around. I'm sure that's how you are for people at the 2 retreats a year that you are a part of.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, this has just been so sweet. I feel like you articulate things so well. You're wise beyond your years. You're just have so much valuable insight. And I really, really hope that no matter who's listening, whether, you're the parent or the teen or whoever, just hears what you have to say and is inspired to get involved with Inheritance of Hope and to lean into this community. And yeah, I guess do you have any other final words that you want to share?
I think just it's such like an inspirational like organization, like no matter what side you're coming from. Like I can't think of a more like fulfilling experience that I've had in my life. I feel like I bring up Inheritance of Hope like with anyone and everyone. And I just think like everyone should know about it, whether like you're looking at volunteering, like you're a family interested in going. It's a very like, I'm not gonna say it's an easy experience, like, it's very difficult, like, I think being vulnerable is one of the hardest things you can do in life, but I think, like, once you take that step to volunteer or to be a family, like, going on the retreat, that it's gonna be the most amazing experience you've ever had.
Yeah, I echo that. I mean, this is just kind of the work that stays with you and impacts you. Whether you are going and you're studying like how to research these cancer treatments to make it better, or you go into social work, or you want to be a child life specialist or someone to like lean in and step into these stories. No matter what, I feel like you're changed for the better through the process of yeah, hearing the stories from Inheritance of Hope. So I feel like this is a great episode that like captures that sentiment very well.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mackenzie. This has been such a joy. I hope many people are inspired by it.
Thank you for having me.